Hi, my name is Dılara Yılmaz. I am third class student of IAB University in Architecture department and this will be my final submission for Aesthetic in Architecture lecture. What is index? Definitions, origins, aesthetic properties, examples with some famous building and famous architects and their methods, etc. Now, I will start with the definitions. What is aesthetic? Aesthetic is a branch of physiology that deals with art, beauty, and pleasure. The word root comes from Greek. It deals with the creation and evolution of beauty. It examines sensory and emotional values, also referred to as the judgment of emotion and taste. What is blobitecture? Blobitecture, also known as blobism, is a term given to a postmodern architectural style characterized by curved and rounded building shapes, or blob architecture we can call. Blobitecture buildings appear to have an organic form that is soft and free-flowing, yet comes together to produce a complex whole. Computer-aided design, which has an organic amoeba shape form. There are some principles of design like rhythm, balance, unity, dominance, contrast, and proportion, etc. We will evaluate with these terms. And then blobitecture example. Origins. In the 60 and 50 and 16 and 70s, some theories and movements appeared that inspired blobitecture. Origins. The term blob architecture was coined by architect Greg Line in 1995 in his experiments in digital design with Metaball graphical software. I want to underline this word because it's like a keyword. It's the starting the thinking of blobitecture. So, a range of architect and furniture designers began to experiment with this blobby software to create new and unusual forms. Despite its seems organisms, blob architecture is unthinkable without this and other similar computer-aided design programs. Architects derive the forms by manipulating the algorithm of the computer modeling platform. Some other computer-aided design functions involved in developing this are the non-uniform rational B-spline or NURB, freeform surface, and the digitalizing of sculptured forms by mean skin to computed tomography. You can see the Greg Line here and his experiments. And then there are some other additional origin information here. And then I will talk about the Archıtecture. Archıtecture is like a group of architects in London. They dominated the architectural avant-garde in the 1960s and early 1970s with its playful pop-inspired vision of a technocratic feature after its formation in 1961 by a group of young London architects, Baron Cook, Peter Cook, Dennis Crompton, David Green, Ron Heron, and Michael Webb. Peter Cook, some workings, and Ron Heron, as you see, a walking stick. Working. And then I will talk about the earlier blobitecture. Buildings built or designed before computers were invented having blob-like architecture, organic lines, asymmetrical shapes, and geodesic domes. They are not actually blobitecture, but they are like origins of them, so I want to add like that. Biosphère Montreal and Oscar Niemeyer's Copen building. And the Endless House, Friedrich Kiesler. You can see the inorganic shapes. And also Casamila is really extraordinary. On the present, importance of CAD programs in blobitecture. Mathematic rules in blobitecture. Blobtecture is a dynamic kind of architecture nevertheless extensively in use today. Blobtecture isn't like any other architectural type since it's entirely organized from PC-aided layout CAD. In software package architect jobs, architects use CAD to manipulate buildings' outlines to almost any form. Whilst they do this, the software program automatically calculate mathematical equations and then that's instill structural soundness into the style. Before CAD's growth, architects adhered to mainstream geographical shapes given that they were self-assured of these shapes' structural stability. Now, now, thanks to CAD software program, a building shape has boundless possibilities. It's mean, thanks to CAD, it's really developed. At the feature, no direct social influence on blob texture form. A shift towards new materials. New design methods as 3D scanners, laser printers, etc. will affect these movement forms. It will be so easy. So everybody will do so much blob texture style buildings. Aesthetic properties. We can give main keywords or concerns. Computer-aided technology, innovation, movement, irregularity, organic shapes, and futurism. Aesthetic philosophy behind Blobtecture. Blobtecture style came with the technology age as CAD programs. Blobtecture buildings appear to have an organic form that is soft and free-flowing, yet comes together to produce a complex whole, as I said before. Also, we can say that this style inspired from the nature and natural forms. Nature gives this style spirit. Architects, which interest in this style, think that they should do a huge building with sense of movement and it should be emphasizing elements. Architecture characteristics. Principles. Patterns creating from irregular organic transmitting of geometric shapes. Contrasts creating from material using gap structure relations, colors, and solid voids. Emphasizing creating from using different elements as movements or transmitting forms or using lighting shadows. Bigger, smaller cover pieces creates a feeling of movement. Structure integrate with coverings openings with a balance. Size are mostly different. Cover pieces are structure creating from different size. Elements. Circular lines, irregular shaped or organic texture, different colors, mostly brilliant blue, white or gray tones. Organic transmitting of geometric structure shapes, different gaps and structure size, vertical or horizontal direction changes. Why the style is beautiful. Beautiful meaning is totally different according to people that think different each other. At past times, people think so different because of social, cultural, or ethnic roots. For example, at the desert, they like triangular shapes as pyramids. Today, the concept of beauty has begun to seem the same to most people with globalization. The differences disappeared and people started living roughly the same life thanks to the technology. Technology has also changed the perception of beauty. The blob architecture is computer-based, organic forms that are created by software and provide people with a sense of motion. It gives people a sense of curiosity thanks to its irregular structure and different style. Having different texture creates a sense of touch. The perception of motion evokes a visual pleasure. Material differences also add an aesthetic value by creating different textures. Large and smaller repetitions often support the perception of motion, create a visual pleasure, provide fluidity. In this way, blob architecture is more attractive and beautiful than flat concrete buildings. Now, I will start with the examples. Important projects, Greg Line, Jen Capley, Norman Foster, they are some famous architects. I will start with the projects. This stage get had Norman Foster and their partners. Aesthetic elements: circular line, irregular metallic covered is texture, blue reflective color, organic square repetition shapes or cover. Usually cover pieces has same size, horizontally, direction. Aesthetic principles: organic geometric shape transformation creates repetition pattern. Flat and organic surface creates contrast. Flat surfaces are minority, so it's using for showing entrance parts emphasis. Relation of four bubble creates balance. Organic geometric similar cover part create a huge building size. It's in ordinary bubble shapes movements, as you see. Why this case is beautiful? This building is beautiful because it has a pure reflective and soft skin covering. It looks mirrors, and also it has rhythm and movements. It too looks so fluid, and so thanks to this matter, it doesn't seem ordinary and bored. Also, its lighting system creates an emphasis and a warm feeling, really strong warm feeling. When I look to the building, its sharp flat entrances and its lighting system emphasizing, it comes to me so invited. So I would like to come inside. On the other hand, the building has a unity and balance. I can explain like that. They make a balance between solids and void with creating gap spaces. And then the Svarvita Square Tower Zahadet. Aesthetic elements: circular line, irregular metallic covered texture, white to black color, organic and geometric shapes and opening, bigger to smaller gap size, horizontal, but it arrived to floor direction. Aesthetic principles: organic geometric shape repetition, pattern. It creates pattern. Shadow and creates contrast. Lights create a sense of importance, emphasis. Smaller organic shapes create balance. Irregular organic geometry gives size. Its unusual bigger, smaller, irregular organic covers create a feeling movement. Why this case is beautiful? This building is beautiful because they use efficiently lighting system to make it invited building. Thanks to playing light, they create a wall with extraordinary shadow light textures. Also, it makes rhythm because shadow every time changing according to the light. It has different skin. Skin has so different texture. Thanks to that, it creates contrast. On the other hand, they create a balance to use materials, textures with gaps and size building size. Art Center Pavilion in Japan. There are two types of membrane structures, blah blah blah. There are some important issues about the building, as you saw. I will explain the elements. Circular line, soft surface and color changing creates texture. From yellow to orange, its color. Linear, similar models created shapes. Usually, cover pieces has same size. Horizontally, direction. Aesthetic principles, I will mention it. Shape repetitions create repetitions, pattern. The red modules and the orange color on surface create emphasis. Relation of frames creates balance. Small modules and bigger main building size. Color changing and repetitions, movements. Why this case is beautiful? This building is beautiful because it has a color palette start from yellow to orange. Thanks to this color palette, building skin has a rhythm. On the other hand, its skin is so soft, so it gives the feeling of touches. On the other hand, the white lines create the different patterns, and there are some important issues. Graphic expression, balanced structure, blob architecture, and structure and material panoptic. Formal organization concepts, linear, geometrical plan, and organic shape with symmetrical form. Expression of geometry, form and shift, complicated geometry, light and shadow, and formality is formless. And then there are some extra examples. Philological Library in Berlin. Aesthetic elements, circular line, checkered cover texture, white and blue cover, yellow light its color, checkered square repetition, shapes and cover. Usually cover pieces has same size, its mentioned size. Horizontal direction, gaps and covering creates a sense of shape and space. And according to the aesthetic principles, organic geometric shape transformation creates checkered repetitions pattern. Material differences and their transcendent differences create contrast. Yellow lights came from the inside creates a sense of looking inside emphasis. Different usage of material and gap shape relation creates balance and harmony. As organic transmitted similar size cover pieces size. It's an ordinary circular structure covers repetition movement. Why this case is beautiful? This building is beautiful because of manufacture. For example, it has a unity and balance thanks to checkered gap fill pattern. It creates a rhythm on skin of building. Also, the inner lightening looking from the outside thanks to material transparency. Besides, thanks to transparency, the inner frames create a fairy atmosphere. And also there are some schema for this building, like expression, plan structure, geodesic dome, central geometry, symmetric plan, curve from final volume is separate piece geometry, like that. And then there are some examples also. Jan Kaplicki, Amanda Levitt's Savage Building, the Blob, Eindhoven, and Swiss, London. There are also some explanation about what is beautiful, etc. And then I will explain the Greek line. You can see the explanations about Greek line. And his mottos is here. What is interesting about architect is we always have tried to justify beauty by looking to nature, and arguably beautiful architecture has always been looking at a model of nature. Its mottos on Blob architecture because Blob architecture inspired from the nature. You can see the his embryological house and Blob wall pavilion. And then Jan Kaplicki. You can see also here some information about this man and his motto. It's not a sign of creativity to have 5 ideas for one problem. It's just a waste of energy. And then Norman Foster is British architect, and he was intrigued by design and engineering from a young age. Foster's early designs reflect the sophisticated machine-influenced high-tech vision. He inspired modernity. Also his motto. One of them is that everything we design is a response to the specific climate and culture of a particular place. And I'm not a creature of habit. I like to find things from unexpected sources. That's all. Thanks for your listening.